Itachi Uchiha was born to the leader of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku, and his wife Mikoto. Itachi was a prodigy among prodigies, becoming an elite ninja known as an Anbu at only the age of 11, younger than most ninja would even graduate. During his free time, Itachi would spend his time with his younger brother Sasuke or elder cousin Shisui. As Itachi gained more respect as a ninja, he'd learn of his clan's plan of a coup d'etat and would report this to his higher-ups. While the village's leader, the third Hokage, would agree to let Itachi and Shisui try to resolve things peacefully, Itachi's boss Danzo, not believing a peaceful solution was possible, would attack Shisui, taking his Sharingan, and knowing he'd likely be killed for his other eye, Shisui would remove it himself, entrusting it to Itachi before taking his own life. This event would traumatize Itachi to the point where he'd awaken his Mangekyou Sharingan. After this, Danzo would order a 13-year-old Itachi to wipe out his own clan. And, knowing that his clan's rebellion would result in Sasuke's death, he'd agree, but only on the condition that Sasuke, and only Sasuke, would be spared. Knowing even he couldn't destroy the clan on his own, he'd enlist the aid of a man he believed to be Madara Uchiha, and together they'd destroy the clan, with Itachi killing his own parents and confronting Sasuke, leaving him the sole survivor. After this, Itachi would leave, joining an organization called the Akatsuki as a double agent. And over the next 8 years, Itachi would work alongside Kisame Hoshigaki, but during this time would learn that he had a disease that would one day kill him and weaken him physically. Knowing he didn't have long to live, he would confront Sasuke one last time, fighting him and saving him from a body snatcher named Orochimaru. But by the fight's end, he would overexert himself and die. After this, Sasuke would be told the truth about his brother by the man that had helped slay the clan, and now realizing how much he meant to Itachi and how much Itachi truly meant to him, would swear to destroy his former village for making Itachi suffer. Hello and welcome everyone to my first character showcase, where I will be using my Versus Series format to showcase a single character's abilities and give them a general ranking to see around where I think they'd stack up against the other characters I've used. Now, for my first character, I've decided to show off someone who I'm convinced I will never get the opportunity to use in a proper matchup, with Itachi Uchiha during Naruto Part 2 while he was still alive, meaning that I will not be using any feats from his time as an Edo Tensei summon, as that Itachi is a whole other beast thanks to Edo Tensei, removing certain limits he'd face while alive. For my sources, I will primarily be using the manga and any non-conflicting information from its anime adaptation, the Itachi Shinden novels, and some information from the data books. Now, with all that out of the way, let me show you what Itachi can do physically. At the time of his death, Itachi was a 21-year-old young man standing at 5 feet 8 inches tall and weighing 127 pounds. While he was in his very early prime, Itachi suffered from an unknown disease that weakened him. And as we saw in his canon death, if he overexerts himself too much, it could even kill him. As he spent his entire life conditioning his body for combat, it's no surprise that he's incredibly strong. Being able to break bones with just the grip of one of his hands, can send fully grown adults flying with a single kick, and easily overpowered his brother Sasuke several times while holding back. Sasuke, for example, could push back Kakashi, a high-ranking ninja, at only the age of 12. His speed is even more incredible, with him speed blitzing 3 Uchiha at the age of 13. Reacted to Sasuke's Chidori multiple times, even though Sasuke was faster than most ninja could see. Reacted to Sasuke's Kirin, an attack made from lightning and enhanced with chakra, by countering it by summoning the Susanoo as it moved toward him. And could react to a sneak attack from Kakashi and even weaved hand signs faster than he could see, despite the latter having used Raikiri to cut a bolt of lightning in half. For once, I actually have something of substance to talk about when talking about stamina. At an unknown point in time, Itachi either contracted or developed a terminal illness that greatly lowered his stamina, to the point that even a short encounter where he held back after fighting Sasuke and using some of his more powerful techniques resulted in his death from overexerting himself. This isn't just the drawbacks of his dojutsu either, as his younger brother Sasuke at the age of 16 used the Sharingan so much in a short period that he went blind from it. So this was indeed the result of his illness. Like most characters, Itachi's durability is a mixed bag. On one hand, he scales to characters like Kisame, Kakashi, and Sasuke who can all survive powerful destruction jutsu and beatdowns. He's also been shown that he's susceptible to damage from conventional weapons such as blades, shurikens, and even blunt force. So, while I wouldn't classify him as a glass cannon by any means, he is also by no means a tank, overall being just above average in the way of durability. Itachi was trained from a young age to wield a variety of weapons, ranging from swords to ranged weapons like shuriken and kunai, both of which he used with deadly efficiency as a member of Anbu. As a member of the Akatsuki, he mainly wielded shuriken, star-shaped blades that were meant to be thrown as projectiles, and kunai, dagger-like weapons roughly 7 to 11 inches long that could be used either as a close-range blade or as another projectile. As a ninja, Itachi was trained to use a variety of techniques called ninjutsu. Due to being an Uchiha, Itachi was naturally gifted with fire nature, and as a child, he mastered the fireball technique and would keep it as a mainstay in his arsenal until his death. He could create clones and have them explode or break apart into crows as a fear tactic. Rather than learn more and more destructive abilities, however, Itachi favored more subtle abilities in the form of illusions, or genjutsu. By the time of his death, Itachi was so skilled at illusions that he could make someone not just see his illusions, but hear and feel them as well. He could cast it on someone with just a point of his finger, and at the age of 18 could reverse trap a jonin who specialized in genjutsu in her own illusion. However, his most powerful abilities came from his bloodline, in the form of the Sharingan. In the base form, the Sharingan slowed Itachi's perception of time, allowing him to react to attacks easier, could predict his opponent's next move through muscle movements, massively boosted the effectiveness of his illusions as well as allowing him to cast them with only a moment of simple eye contact, as well as being able to knock out, paralyze, or even control his opponents. Finally, the Sharingan gave him the power to perfectly copy his opponent's fighting style in ninjutsu. Finally, even the base Sharingan had 2 more abilities that could be used as a last resort. The first of which was Izanagi, the ability to put reality itself under a genjutsu which would allow Itachi to negate any physical damage done to his body. There's also Izanami, an ability that is set up by creating a loop of actions that will trap the target in this loop until they accept that they have lost their way and correct their path. Each of these abilities can only be used once, and by using these abilities, the caster will permanently lose the ability to use that eye or any abilities gained from it. However, so far I've only been talking about the base Sharingan. Itachi, however, unlocked its second state, the Mangekyo Sharingan. This form, along with improving its previous abilities, unlocked 3 more incredibly busted ones. However, first, I'd like to take this time to correct a mistake I made in my Madara vs. Sephiroth video, where I said that Madara's genjutsu wouldn't work on Sephiroth due to how genjutsu works. What I didn't know at the time, however, was that Mangekyo Sharingan-based genjutsu works differently, as rather than manipulating an opponent's chakra, Mangekyo Sharingan-based genjutsu involves injecting the caster's chakra directly into their opponent's brain. So, yes, Madara could have used his genjutsu on Sephiroth, and Itachi should be able to use his Sharingan-based genjutsu on characters from any franchise as long as they don't have any resistance to illusions. Moving on, the first of his abilities gained by the Mangekyo Sharingan was called Tsuguyomi, his ultimate genjutsu. This ability trapped its victim in their own mind, where Itachi could make someone experience whatever he wanted as well as control their perception of time, to the point where he can make someone experience days of torture in the span of a few seconds, or even make you live out your entire life in less than half a second. This ability could even break a person to the point where they were killed by it. Allow me to repeat that. With less than half a second of eye contact, Itachi could kill you. Amaterasu was his second most powerful destruction ability, creating an inextinguishable black flame that, according to the data books, will burn for 7 days and 7 nights if not interrupted, and is as hot as the surface of the sun. The only downside to this ability was that, unlike his brother Sasuke, Itachi could not control these flames to the same degree, but could at the very least extinguish them if he needed to. His final and strongest ability was the Susanoo, a humanoid avatar made of chakra that will fight for Itachi. This ability can be activated in several stages, from a rib cage that protects him from incoming attacks to a building-sized armored torso. Itachi's Susanoo was special, however, coming equipped with 2 deadly tools, the Yata Mirror and the Totsuka Blade. The Yata Mirror had the ability to change its chakra nature to that of any incoming attacks, nullifying them. The Totsuka Blade is a sword that will seal away anything impaled on it, trapping them in a permanent state of intoxication. Like in all of my matchups, I will be using Star Wars lightsaber fighting forms to better and more easily describe how both of these opponents approach combat with their particular styles. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. Itachi's main method of dealing with opponents was with the use of his genjutsu, often going for attacks specifically to set up the use of 1 or more illusions, often trapping his opponents before a fight had even began. This, along with his regular integration of jutsu into his fighting style, leads me to believe that Itachi would have been a master in form 6 Ninman, a form that generalizes the previous 5 as well as teaching the integration of special abilities into his standard combat. As a strong secondary, Itachi would use Form 5 Gem So, a mixture of power-based strikes, defense, and countering in order to wear down an opponent before striking them down. In a real fight, Itachi would use this form to defend himself while analyzing how his opponents would respond, until finding a flaw that he could exploit and then use it to defeat them. Not only an amazing fighter, Itachi was also a brilliant strategist, being able to analyze various situations and figure out solutions to them, such as when he figured out how to disrupt Chibaku Tensei from just watching it. And while he did not originally intend for it to be used this way, he used Kodo Matsukami to free himself from Edo Tensei and implanted Amaterasu in Sasuke as a trap for Obito. And while this failed, Obito knew that had Itachi known about his own Mangekyo Sharingan ability, he would have succeeded in killing him. Well, it's pretty easy to see that Itachi is a high-tier character, even with his highly lowered stamina thanks to his illness. Itachi was still a master with weapons and combat skills, both of which don't even come close to his mastery of Genjutsu. Not to mention, he has 5 separate skills that are essentially instant win buttons. So in order to even place him, we need to find characters that could at least survive Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi, and to find that, we need to jump all the way up to A tier, where starting off with the Persona characters could theoretically survive Amaterasu thanks to their magic resistance. However, none of them have any form of illusion resistance and are actually outright shown to be susceptible to having their minds altered, not to mention not a single one of them would challenge him in hand-to-hand combat. I can't see the Ruby characters being too much of a threat. While they'd at least keep up with him in terms of hand-to-hand skills, and characters like Blake and Raven would probably even be able to reliably dodge Amaterasu, no one in Ruby has been shown to resist illusions. In fact, just like the Persona characters, it's the exact opposite, as multiple characters use illusions in their primary toolset, so he'd be more than capable of exploiting them with Genjutsu. Genesis is more or less the same, though with the added flaw of his advanced degeneration being something Itachi would be more than able to exploit thanks to his own experience with limited abilities. Nero would easily be the hardest fight in A tier, and is the only character I can see him actually losing to. Starting off with Amaterasu, Nero should actually be capable of surviving this, as he's taken similar attacks from Burial, who burnt him with Hellfire. Nero, however, would struggle with Itachi's illusions, and I can't see him walking away from Tsukuyomi. Finally, the Susanoo hard counters everything Nero is bringing to the table, and would take him out instantly if landing a hit. If Nero were to beat Itachi, it would be in the early fight with a lucky grab from the Devilbringer or a Yamato Slash. So really, I have to put him in S tier, though where may not please many Itachi fans. To start off with, I don't believe a single character in this tier is going down right away to Amaterasu, thanks to their advanced magic resistance, or starting off with his worst matchup in this category would easily be Madara, as Madara's own abilities give him direct counter to all of Itachi's, with even Tsukuyomi, Izanagi, and Izanami being something that Madara's own Sharingan and Rinnegan would be able to counter. Not to mention, he deemed Sasuke's stronger and more controlled Amaterasu to be beneath his notice, so Itachi's isn't really going to hurt him. And don't even get me started on how pathetic Itachi's Susanoo is in comparison to Madara's. Really, it's just not fair. Moving on, he'd put up a good fight against Virgil, but ultimately I see this going in Virgil's favor, as Virgil's durability should scale above Nero's, who again resisted the Hellfire of Burial, so Amaterasu isn't going to take him out right away. Virgil also has experience with illusions and should be able to adapt to fighting Itachi with them. Tsukuyomi would be a serious threat to Virgil, however in the Visions of V manga it's shown that Virgil can power through years of torment and abuse. So while he won't come out of Tsukuyomi unharmed, he'll likely be able to at least survive it. Finally, his Susanoo would be able to one-shot Virgil if set up right, but if Virgil adapts to fighting Itachi's illusions, this could be hard. Not to mention, Itachi's ultimate defense, the Yata Mirror, wouldn't work against Yamato's magic. Let me explain. The Yata Mirror adapts to a chakra nature type to nullify attacks. However, the Yamato uses an energy source that doesn't exist in Naruto, demonic power. Even so-called demons like the Nine-Tailed Fox or Shikaku use chakra as their power, so there isn't anything for Itachi to adapt to, rendering the Yata Mirror useless against Yamato. Sephiroth is his best matchup in this tier, with Amaterasu again being a threat but not an instant win. Itachi would also need to watch out for Sephiroth's illusions, as his Sharingan wouldn't be able to see through them, and may have more trouble as his non-Sharingan Genjutsu would be ineffective. Tsukuyomi would work, but I have to question its effectiveness on someone who would already be mentally broken. But that's nothing more than my opinion. Susanoo, however, would be more than a worry to Sephiroth, as the Yata Mirror would be virtually impenetrable for Sephiroth, and again, the Totsuka blade is a one-hit kill provided it lands a hit. Overall, I see this specific fight depending entirely on how Sephiroth opens the fight. If he pressures Itachi right away and wears him down, Sephiroth will win after a relatively short match, ending with Itachi using too much of his power and dying just trying to keep up. However, if Sephiroth at any point gets cocky and lets Itachi take control of the pace, he will be immediately put into a Genjutsu, and Itachi will either knock out or paralyze him before finishing him off with the Susanoo. Overall, I'd have to put Itachi tied for last place of S tier with Sephiroth, both having 0.5 points. However, last of S tier is still amazing, and in terms of total wins, would technically be ranked the third most powerful character featured on this channel for his combat abilities alone, taking out the vast majority of his competitions, with him not even needing to use his Mangekyo abilities until about mid A tier. And that's all I really have to go over for Itachi. What do you guys think? Do you think that the Versus Series format works well for this kind of video, or do you think I should try something different with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if I got anything wrong, again, please feel free to correct me. Also, since I have somehow fucked it up in the last video, I have a Twitter where I occasionally post updates or just shitpost. Right, with all that out of the way, I'm Ray932, and I will see you guys very soon.